Iannitelli, Executive Director of Circle of Friends Services. Circle of Friends is a nonprofit organization that provides community mental health in the Central Florida area. We work primarily with children and families in the child welfare system. Today, I wanted to go over a therapeutic intervention that I've used a lot in my practice, and I found it to be very helpful. I got it from a book by Kathy Malchiotti and David Crenshaw called Creative Arts and Play Therapy for Attachment Problems. It's been a wonderful resource for me. I found a lot of use for it, and I wanted to go over just one of the interventions that's described in this book, and then I have added some modifications too. The original intervention is done by Athena Drews. So this is called Wall Around My Heart. And you want to start by first drawing a small heart and putting the client's name and 1 day old. You would do this with the client together. I'm showing you just one that I've done for myself. And it just says Jane, 1 day old. It's a small heart, just simply colored in. And you could explain to the client that this is their heart at 1 day old. Then I ask the client, what is your heart used for? Most clients, most kids will tell me the heart is used for keeping you alive and for pumping blood and all that. And I agree, yes, that's true. But it's also for giving and receiving love. And this is the emotional heart. And then I say that at 1 day old, your heart was really good at giving and receiving love. And they agree. The next step, and you can do this on the same paper, but for this exercise, I'm going to show it to you on separately. So the next step is to draw a slightly bigger heart with their name and the age in which the neglect, abuse, or the separation from their parents occurred. Now this one's a little bit tougher because then I start to talk to them about what is happening to their heart when this happened. There's pain, there's loss, there's hurt. And I let them know that there may be some cracks in their heart. And I let them draw that. They get to decide what that looks like for them. Some may draw a small crack, some may draw lots of cracks, but they get to decide. And then we talk about the impact that trauma, neglect, or separation has had. The third step you're going to spend a little bit more time on, and this is the real tricky part. You want to draw a third bigger heart now with those same cracks on there, and then have a conversation with the client about how they have been really good and they've been really smart to protect their heart. And they were able to do this by building a wall around it. And you want to praise them for protecting their hearts. This can be pretty unusual because we as therapists and parents know that this wall around their heart is not a great thing anymore. It's preventing them from having full relationships with their foster parents, with their adoptive parents, with their friends. But we're going to go ahead and praise them for protecting themselves because this is what they've done to survive. So we're going to praise them for it. And we're going to talk about how their foster parent, their adoptive parent, or their family member, and myself can help them to learn to take down this wall so that it can let some love in and let some love out too. So I let them draw the wall that they want it to look like. So some will draw very thick walls, some will draw barbed wire on there, or lots of bricks around it. You can see that I drew, maybe some thicker on top and on the bottom, and some lots of like curly lines, and I write their name and the age that they are now, because now we're working in the here and now present day for them. Okay, and then the last part of this intervention for that one session is to draw that same heart with the wall that they intended and ask them, what can your adoptive parent, what can your foster parent do to help you to feel safe enough to begin letting down some of this wall? Just in pieces, not all at once. And what I've done is I've added some attachment activities. Now, your client might have some really good ideas about what he or she needs from their foster parent or their adoptive parent, but they also might not know. So be prepared to have some suggestions on what are some good attachment activities. Now, this is also your opportunity to bring in the parent. Get them engaged in this process to help foster that attachment. They need to hear what their child needs from them, and they need to know how important it is that they stick to some of these activities and these schedules. So I wrote in some suggestions like making dinner together, or reading a book together, or some that are not so concrete, like even planning the future together. Talking about, what do we want to do in a year? Where do we want to go on our next vacation? Or what's your ideas about your next school year? They need to know that they're going to be a part of this family next year. So there's lots of activities here. You can also look up that information to get some more ideas. So hopefully the child will then draw less of a wall. But again, that's up to them. They can decide what that wall will look like. So now there's follow-up to this intervention. Maybe not necessarily the next session, but maybe several after that. You can check in on them and say, I wonder how your heart's looking after doing some of these activities with your parent. Maybe it looks less like this one. This one has a couple of Band-Aids on it. It's no longer thick at the top and thick at the bottom. And there's even a small opening there. That would indicate that they are feeling safer and more connected to their parent or even to the therapist. So something to think about as you can gauge success or gauge their progress. So, I found this to be useful with young children as young as 4 or 5, and older children as much as 15 or 16. All were open to this experience. So I hope you find this useful, and good luck in your work. Thank you.